Welcome to Crafts and Minis. Today I have a special review for you of a monster book that you're going to want to utilize for your 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons games. I'm so excited to have this book finally in my hands, and I've had it for a little while now. I backed it on Kickstarter in 2018, and it arrived in great condition. This is the hardcover book from Cawood Publishing of Monsters of Feyland, and it is a tremendous book. This book, when I saw it on Kickstarter, really intrigued me. I love the art. The art is consistent throughout. It's the same artist who does all the art throughout, and he is amazing. That's Travis Hansen. Andrew Cawood did all the writing for this book, and Andrew runs his own publishing company for RPG material. And I love his little motto here: practical, inspiring RPG products. He has his whole world called Mirror, and you can see like Michael Mordor and his group running through the world of Mirror on Michael's channel, and Cawood Publishing puts out a lot of great products that you can find especially on DriveThruRPG, but I'm going to link in the description of this video their website so that you can see all the many products. This book especially is worth checking out. It's going to be on DriveThruRPG in PDF, softcover, and hardcover form. But since I backed the Kickstarter, I already have it. Now, this is a monster book, and there are a ton of great monsters, over 90 monsters. And what makes this book so unique is that this is all about the Fae. The Fae are tremendous. You know, when you think of Fae, you might think of like Alice in Wonderland or Peter Pan, but I love the description here. Feyland is a magical land just around the corner from the everyday world. You might simply step into it without knowing. Beauty is everywhere, emotions are volatile, and time doesn't seem to work in a linear fashion. In some places, twilight never seems to end, and thick mists drift through endless woods. In other areas, there is constant upheaval, and music blares out spontaneously. Bright colors sparkle, and the world is bursting with life. Quiet, hidden groves clash with the harsh, rocky terrain. Feyland seems similar to the everyday world, but is a much more intense version. And that's what I found in this book. The art is intense. The descriptions are intense. It's like having a whole world to explore just in high definition. And this is all the preamble to the content of this book. You're just getting this one page to describe Feyland besides a breakdown of the different courts, and then you're getting into the monsters, which I love. This book isn't, packed full of just like lore or something like that. Lore's sprinkled throughout, but only in the context of the monsters themselves. Now, the Fae are divided up, and you can follow this nice flow chart into the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court. For the Seelie, you have summer and spring, Unseelie autumn and winter, and then you have all of the different creatures of the Fae that are associated with the two courts. And here's what I'm talking about with the art. Look at that. I love it. I just love it. And when you start getting into the creatures themselves, this layout is fantastic. You're going to be able to, if you're familiar at all with Dungeons & Dragons material, take a look at this book and know exactly what you're looking at. Each page is its own creature. I can't stress how much I like that enough. I'm going to review some other books where that's not the case, and I do have to be honest, it's a little more challenging when a creature flows over the course of multiple pages. And on some of these creatures, they could have filled up a lot more space, I'm sure, but I just love this layout. Each creature has color, illustrations, has a great description with all the crunch, and has little nuggets for you to consider, like this giant basilisk, right? That, I love this, right? The rooster retreat. Even though these monstrosities strike fear in the hearts of many, they are scared of the call of the common rooster. And you could find it in a castle or keep, right? Like, that's the little flavor that's throughout this book. It's not just like, oh, these are monsters you've heard of before. And some of them you might be familiar with the ideas, but they've thrown little twists in here on all these monsters, and it is fantastic. The Bogart and the Brownie, the different Centaurs. I love these armored Centaurs. I got some models from Russia that I am going to love to use as those. And that's way I look at reviews. Does the book inspire me? I love using minis in my book. That's why my channel's crafts and minis in my games. And I got to tell you, this book, I started doing a Google Doc of all the different creatures from here that I had minis for or that I wanted to make minis for, and it's just awesome. And you got a lot of different flavor of both like darker side and lighter side, however you want to spin these creatures, like this Doom Rider that it works with the Skeleton King, right? And they're so evocative. And then you have, because it's the Feylands, a lot of fun. The Doubt Trout, right? They drain your confidence, which is so fun. And then I know there are a lot of great dragons. I think there are 5 dragon creatures in here. The Dream Dragon that has this breath thing that changes the terrain. The Purple Dragon, Storm Dragon, Jabberwock, and even, I love this, the Quadrak, which is ridden by goblins, right? So it's only a CR5 creature. And what I've appreciated about this book is that I like a large variety of sizes of creatures. And I know this is, in terms of type, pretty much all the same because they're all Fey. But I also like different challenge ratings. And I know, we can't take the challenge ratings as everything because as Dungeons Masters, we got to use these monsters as we want and adapt them a little bit, which you do with any book. But I love the idea of these goblins riding around on these little quadrak dragons that are kind of like dragonflies almost, and harassing your characters. What's so cool in here, and the reason you're going to want to check out this book, are for characters like this, the Dryad Queen, because you get a whole description of these like iconic characters in this Feyland that can be like major pivotal players in your campaign, like the Elder Tree, right? That's a CR24 monster. And I know that Michael Mordor did a great miniature of that, and I have an idea for a great miniature of doing the Elder Tree, which I'm really excited about too. They've got all sorts of different elves, this Fey Knight, nobles, rangers, and then like the Everflower, right? Which likes to put on these different performances throughout Feyland. And you can just get a lot of ideas just by reading these descriptions, like any good monster manual or bestiary does. It gives you ideas for your own game. And these have been terrific. There's a ton of different fairies in here. And then throughout, there are these little different flora of the Feyland, different types of vegetation and stuff that have different effects in the game, which are terrific. If you want a pipe-smoking caterpillar, remember, Feyland can be a lot of fun. Or someone who's just wandered into the Feyland and been Fey-touched and is having some troubles. There's a lot of good stuff. The Frog Witch is really interesting. Again, these iconic characters for your campaign, the Frost Lord that you can make a whole campaign about. And then you got the giants. I love the giants in here. The Mountain Lord is this king of the giants that summons the ogres as minions. And the Mist Giant, who's more independent, even though, he should be following the Mountain Lord. He does his own thing a little bit. But I just love these ideas of the different type of giants in here. I'm a sucker for giants because they're easy to find toys that you can convert into miniatures for your game, and I love it. You got your lake gnome, your Goblin King, and that's what's cool. There's a bunch of different little goblin types in here. The shaman, winged goblins, come on, gremlins. I definitely have some miniatures that can be used for gremlins. And of course you need different magic users, your forest hag, your harvest maiden. Look at this art, right? And then you have a lot of fun. So the Hatter here on the right, that's a really cool little creature. But then the haters. Haters, listen to this description. Misery loves company. Now and then, haters will join together in groups to steal work of art or critique artists. I'm sure when you open yourself to the world and your art and open your art to the world and your different creations and you get all these reviews going, I'm sure many content creators can relate to the hater creature as something you want to avoid, but sometimes you can't. And I just love that. That's just a lot of fun. And I've got miniatures that I want to convert to look like that so I can have my own little band of haters, which would be a great little Fey to throw in. If you need a headless horseman, I got you. Well, Andrew Cawood got you. The Huntar is incredible. I love this art here because it's more squat looking centaur body, and he's just a brick, right? And he or she, or the Huntars are the Queen's army. So they're like the foot soldiers for the Unseelie court. And remember, this whole book is divided up that way, where the Fae fall into these different courts that are really cool. You got an ice princess, a lady of swans, log shadowed, right? It's not just like your traditional creatures. There's some cool things in here. And then you got the lycanthropes. Now, I got to tell you, I wasn't expecting the were-badger, but I love badgers. And this just made my heart full. You got a were-fox, were-rabbits, Master of the Hunt, just a cool NPC. That would be awesome, I think. Mist Phantoms. I got some models from Rune Wars that are going to look great as Mist Phantoms. Night Hounds. Of course, you have nymphs. And then you got, again, these characters that could be iconic in your campaign. The Oak Lord, the King Oberon himself, who is a huge player when you talk about just the little bit of lore that you pick up in this book. The Ogre King, which is a minor player, right? And that's kind of made clear in his description that the Mountain Lord and his giants often like to use ogres to do their dirty work. Not the brightest creatures, the ogres can often be talked into dangerous tasks, and that he's only a minor king. Because, yeah, considering all the powerful royalty in Feyland, this ogre is not a major player. However, he can also be underestimated, so you might overlook that. Now, here's what's kind of cool. Reaper Miniatures makes a perfect miniature, I think, for this ogre king, because he has a door shield, and there is an ogre with a door shield and a club. Go get it. You got an ogre king. Also, this ogre mage, I love that. You got to have a good ogre mage. And then, like Orchid, she's like a free spirit, which is really cool. Pond of Reflection, right? A different type of creature, that pond that your characters can encounter. Prince of the Pipes, Prince of Twilight, Protea, these plants. Now, there's a lot of cool monstrous plants in here that are great. The Queen of Darkness, right? You got to have that villain in your campaign. Or maybe she's just misunderstood. I don't know. But she's a great character that if you get this book, you can definitely utilize. The Rain Man. Oh, that's so cool. Like this stalking rain creature. Using your environment and your encounter to affect the PCs is such an important point. And I need to do that better in my own games, right? But that's one of the creatures that I definitely could utilize. Okay, I'm not going to try to pronounce this. It's another big plant. Scary plant. Riverwind, right? Another type of fake creature. That's chaotic neutral. A royal stag. I picked up a miniature that's huge, right? It's a large stag miniature that I'm actually going to paint in that like greenish tone, and it is going to look awesome as that royal stag. I love all the trees in this book. The ruined tree is just one example of all the deadly trees, and that is so cool. The Sandman is awesome. Shadow Bird is an undead bird. Which is really cool. It's these spies that fly around. The Shadow Tree, right? Right? You get to have some awesome trees, and I love that about this. Sirens, okay? So if you're into the water or whatever, you got your sirens. And here, these are really cool. Skeletal spiders. Look at that guy. Look at that. This book is great because it gives you stats on the next page for these large size skeletons, so that would fit on a 2-inch base, right? And they ride these skeletal spiders around, which is really cool. And just because all the elves and different fey creatures that are living get to have fun doesn't mean the undead ones don't get to have fun. So that's your skeleton king. I love that. Those are the skeleton creatures, which if you get those big bags of Halloween skeletons, you totally could use those for this. The Snow Queen is awesome. Sprite Knights. The Story Weaver is really cool, right? The storyteller that wanders around. Swan Maiden. Sylphs. Oh, the Thresholder is kind of cool, right? For crossing over into different places, you might have a Thresholder, and they could all look different. It talks about Queen Tatiana, or Titania. Titania? Toadmen. The Tree of Dread. I love this guy because he can do animate trees, and that just gets me all fired up when you can cross over terrain and minis, and where at first your players don't know if the terrain that you set down on the table is going to attack them or not. That is huge. You got a river troll, and then you got all these unicorns. Black unicorn, green unicorn, red unicorn. The wild horse is really awesome. Wild hounds, wild riders of the hounds. Your more general witch, right? And then also the Witch King, which I have a miniature from HeroClix of Heimdall that I'm going to convert into the Witch King that looks awesome. You also have a smaller section on beasts, right? This huge frog, the Forget Frog, the giant butterfly, giant dragonfly, fox, rabbit, swan, all these cool things. Now, if you ordered the Bones 4 Kickstarter from Reaper, or you're watching this when all those models are already out, there is a miniature, and if you know the Kickstarter, you know what I'm talking about, that this giant tortoise is going to fit perfect for coming out from Reaper. I would get this book just to be able to utilize that miniature better. And that's what I'm talking about. I let the minis guide a lot of what I do on the tabletop. If you need your goblins to ride something here, the Jarog. But this is just awesome. You also get the nice little index here of the monsters by challenge rating. And remember, they're mostly all Fey, but they even go to break them down into undead, plant, these little different types, and a random encounter table. Now, when you look at this book, I hope you get inspired, because I definitely have been. And I have so many monster books for 5th edition, but this is the one I've been thinking about lately the most, that I want to just grab quickly. And I love that they're also coming out with another book here in 2019. Hopefully it'll be out. They're going to do a Kickstarter, and Andrew Cawood and Travis Hansen are going to be teaming up again to do another monster book they've announced. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm really excited. That's going to be on Kickstarter, so definitely connect with Andrew on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, he's a great follow. And definitely check out the website for Cawood Publishing, and go to DriveThruRPG. They have, I know, some different deals on the PDFs that you can get even multiples together over at DriveThruRPG. But if you want this book in hardcover, softcover, or PDF, you can go there. Go to Cawood Publishing's website that's going to be linked in the description. And I love this book. Go get after your hobby.